if you allow me to intervene here very quickly, we'll get to the issue of arbitration when things go wrong between bankers on one hand and customers on the other hand. But let's stick a little bit with historical perspective as to the journey so far. A time was when the CIBN was as visible, perhaps a little bit more visible than the central bank itself. I'm sure you're aware of that. And you're taking us through what has happened and what is wrong now. So we talk about ethics in financial services industry. At what point and why do you think things actually went down? You said the last 15 years thereabout. By that time, were you still at the CIBN? What are the things that you noticed as an individual and the head of that institution as a CEO you think was going wrong with your colleagues or the bankers in the service, in the industry?
Okay, casting our minds back, I remember and do recall that a major issue was given the number of banks, which was exponential in terms of increase and growth, became a source of worry to a lot of people, particularly the banking public. And the loss of confidence that was associated with this came to a hilt. And I remember that the governor of Central Bank then, Basharon J.O. Sanusi, came up with an idea, and which we saw as a challenge to the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria then. And this led to the birth of what we call Ethics and Professionalism Subcommittee of the Bankers Committee. This grew to become an alternative dispute resolution option for banks and within the financial services industry. As it turned out, this has kind of reached the level of a high court, if you like, where disputes are referred to, especially by customers of banks against banks, or banks against banks themselves, or banks against regulatory authorities like CBN and NDIC, or even amongst regulatory industries themselves. So this subcommittee developed into a life of its own. And 14 years thereon till today, it has continued to play a very critical role. Unfortunately, not much had been known about this particular subcommittee, but it has been growing leaps and bounds. At the last count, it had handled, or it has had cases referred to it of up to 1,700 complaints, out of which about 1,500 have been fully resolved as at end of August this year. If you look at the impact of that, if you relate that to if 1,700 or close to 2,000 cases had been added on to the disputes that were referred to our judicial system, it means that the life of the judiciary must have been made a bit much more difficult. But this had been handled by the Ethics Committee, Ethics and Professionalism Committee, which is domiciled with the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. And it remains there up to today. In terms of figures, I mean, you can imagine how many trillions of naira dispute has been resolved within the system.
So, Mr. Ogunleye, I'm sorry, we have about 2 minutes to wrap up the conversation, but I didn't want us to, I don't want us to finish this without asking this question. You're also a member of the Lagos arbitration, what you call the front door, a process that adjudicates on matters, what you call alternative dispute resolution, ADR. Tell us about these issues of financial services complaints, arbitration between banks and customers. Are these issues still coming up? And what's next step? What steps are you taking to make sure that this becomes something national, as it were?
Okay. You're referring to Lagos Multi-Dot Courthouse, where I do play a certain role as a mediator. I'm a trained mediator, so I do work with that. And I discovered that since joining the fray in the Lagos Multi-Dot Courthouse, which is a court-linked alternative dispute resolution. I discovered that the majority of cases referred to that organization were financial dispute-based disputes and complaints. And this confirms the importance of the ADR in CIBN, which I had talked about earlier. But this, I'm sure, had created a lot of relief for the Lagos State judiciary system itself. And I believe that the more of this we do have, the better for the Nigerian banking and financial system.
All right, well, okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Eson Ogunleye. I guess we need to wrap it up at that point. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Eson Ogunleye, the former registrar and chief executive officer at Chartered Institute of Bankers, talking to us ahead of today's takeoff of the two-day Bankers Summit in Abuja.